Welcome to the Kristi Jones Show. This is your go-to podcast for living life to the fullest. I am a life and empowerment coach, speaker, and business owner in multifamily real estate. I am a woman passionate about helping others build a life that they truly desire. We'll talk about how to make the most out of every day, from setting meaningful goals to embracing the present moment. So join us as we explore the depths of living a life that is full of joy, purpose, and satisfaction. Well, welcome back, my friends, to the Kristi Jones Show, to another episode. And I'm so excited to talk about this today. Today, we're talking about intentional living and how to create a life you truly love. How intentional living does that for you. I can't wait to dive into this more because intentional living is truly the core of how we create a life that we love. It's the opposite of living your life in autopilot, which so many people, not intentionally, but they fall into that trap of just living their life in autopilot. And I've seen the outcome of that as time goes by and years go by, and then they're not in autopilot anymore. And so there's a big price tag on living your life in autopilot. So intentional living, and the sooner we can wake up to intentional living, is truly the way to create the life that you really love. So also, let me start by saying that I decided, I have my way of looking at intentional living. I think intentional living has a lot to do with self-awareness. But I thought, well, let's go to Google. Let me go to the Google University. I wanted to see what Google said on a definition for intentional living. So let me share this with you. Intentional living from Google University was being aware of one's fundamental beliefs and willingly make an effort to reflect these beliefs in one's behavior. Actually, I think that's a pretty good definition. I think that was I have to give Google, 4 or 5 stars on that definition. That was really good, because the thing is aware, which that was in the second word, being aware, and awareness that's where it all begins. And so if we're being aware of how we're moving through our life, then we can begin that process of being intentional with our creating our life. So, life's made of choices, and every day we get the opportunity to make choices to intentionally create the life that we desire to have, the life that we're going to love. And moving forward in autopilot is the exact opposite of that. And unfortunately, so many people move forward in autopilot. Honestly, I could say, or to be honest, it's probably easier going through life on autopilot and what autopilot mode. I wrote a blog post on this one time on how not to move through life in autopilot mode, but it is very common because honestly, it's easier. You just do what you're told, follow the little, pre-programmed life plan, whatever that is, but whatever you feel like you're supposed to do, or what they're doing, or what your friends are doing, or, what your social group is doing. A lot of that just falls into being in autopilot mode. Intentional living, it takes more energy. It takes you tapping into your self-awareness. And sometimes, you got to look at some of the really raw parts of your life. You got to ask yourself some hard questions sometimes. You got to face some truths. So intentional living is not always the easiest road. Intentional living is actually the core of my Flourish and Thrive coaching that I do. It's called Flourish and Thrive with Kristi. And the nucleus of that is intentional living. And I have 5 foundations built around intentional living. And I take my clients through that. because I believe and I have found that there are 5 components to live your life with intention. And when we address those 5 foundations, that is how we truly walk into intentional living and build a life that we really love. So really quick, just to kind of start off the conversation, intentional living, I was thinking, like, when for myself, when could I actually say I started living my life with intention? I'm looking for some notes here that I had on the intentional living. But I have to say that I know I didn't really start moving through my life. And really the first time I tapped into intentional living would be like, I'd say 25, my early 20s. No, it wasn't. I can't say I was really living with intention. I was living in the moment. I was, adventure. I was trying new things. I was trying to figure out, what interests me, what I wanted to do. There's that whole thing, right? When you're young and graduating from high school, and I don't know if you went through this, but here was my experience. I was 17 when I left high school, and maybe most people are 18, and I had went on to junior college, and that I was 17 when I started that. So, and I remember people, that feeling of you're supposed to know, oh, what are you going to do? What do you want to be? What do you want to be? It's always focused around, what do you want to be? What do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know. I mean, I was like, I don't know. I mean, was I supposed to know at 17? I don't think so. And I think if people were to just get really freaking honest, most of us at 17, 18, we don't know. Now, I will say there is a definite percentage of people that do and know very early and have a lot of very concrete plans and ideas. But there's also a big chunk of us, and I say us because I'm in that other group, that did not. I was just figured that that's what I was supposed to be figuring out as I was in my 20s. So, and that matched with my personality of not having a whole lot of fear and a lot of confidence. I was ready to try a lot of things and see what I enjoyed and what made sense and what I found interesting. So I really felt like, while I wasn't necessarily living with intention, I was more just exploring and seeing what I enjoyed and what I wanted my life to be like. I was really in that, exploration time of, I don't know, what kind of life do I want to build? And so if you fell in that group, like me, I know I was in really good company, because I know a lot of people share that same sentiment. And so I would say, I was like, okay, so when's the first time that I actually started living with intention? And then I have pinned it to, I have to say at 25, definitely when I became a mom, which was at 23, I definitely had much more intention with and like focus of my life and the vision I saw for my life. And I loved it. And that was really purposeful. And then at 25, I would say, though, I really stepped out and made that move of intentional living, because I decided not to put up with, I could have gone along with the abusive behavior. I could have put up with the toxic environment, but I did the uncomfortable thing and the scary thing at the time, because there were so many unknowns of how, what life was going to look like and how I was going to make everything happen. But that's, when I left that marriage and made a really bold decision, and I was really scared to do it. But I feel like if I were to pinpoint was that my first time to really say I was living with intention? It was probably one of the bigger ones that I remember for sure, because I was making a bold choice and standing and being self-aware and really tapping into that and knowing that I am really moving forward in my life with clear intention and nothing is going to stop me. So I would say that's when I kind of first leaned into fully living with intention. And then it just kind of goes from there, obviously in my 30s a lot, for 40s, but definitely by my late 20s, that was a very, very big practice in my daily routine. Like I understood that all of my habits, all of my choices, all of that, even the small, like the things that say, oh, people think are no big deal, that are a big deal. The time I wake up, my morning routine, what I choose to mentally prepare for my day. I mean, all of that is what started setting me on a path to live with intention, to build the life that I truly wanted to create. So what is intentional living? Here's another little exercise I like to take people through. But intentional living is asking yourself why you do the things you do. And then being happy with your answer to that. For instance, here's a few questions. Why are your friends your friends? Why are the people that you hang out with, why do you hang out with them? Why did you choose the current job you have? Or the career? Why did you choose the career that you're in? Why did you choose the person that your partner, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend? Why did you choose that person? Are you happy with those answers? If you're happy with those answers, you're living with intention. If you are confused with those questions, if those questions make you feel a little uncomfortable, if you have that just a conflicting feeling when you ask yourself those questions, or you just struggle to answer it, then that's something that you need to ask yourself, am I really moving forward in this area of my life with intention? Why do you hang out with the people you hang out with? I mean, I have many times in my life, there's been people that have spent time with and socialized with. And then at some point I realized it didn't really match up with what I was creating in my life. So I changed it. If it didn't line up, if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't line up with your core values, if it doesn't line up with how you intentionally are showing up in the world, how you're moving through your life. Why are you working late? Well, if you like the answer to that, then that's awesome. If you don't like the answer you're giving yourself, then there's some conflict there. Your action of working late is not lining up with your value system. It's not lining up with the intentions that the intentional life you're trying to build. There's a lot of years in my life that I worked long hours, late hours, early hours. But when I would ask myself, quietly, am I liking that I'm doing this? And at that time in my life, the answer is absolutely yes, because I understood what I was moving towards. So it didn't make me feel conflicted, bad. I understood the why. I understood my why. Even my husband and I, there was a lot of years, many years, that we both were on the same page, very focused. We knew what we were building. We understood the time and effort we had to put into our careers. And we also understood the balance and the importance of family life. And we found a way to navigate that felt good to us. So yes, we worked a lot of hours, but yes, felt very good about it because it lined up with our why. We understood what we were building, what we were creating. And so there's not a right or wrong answer to these questions. Does it line up with your value system? Is it line up to the intentional life that you're trying to build? No different than if you're a parent and choices that you're making on, I'm going to choose to be, here and I'm fully present and I'm not going to be doing my other list of things, and I'm not going to be talking to friends on the phone, and I'm not going to be watching the TV program because I'm going to be here right now playing with my child. Just being present, just hanging out, just sitting on the floor, just giving them all my attention. You're choosing that. That's intentional living. And if you move through your life in autopilot, you will miss these opportunities to live your life with intention. So here's what I find. I see that people, and this is, I want to say it's rare, but it's not. So people that move through life in autopilot mode, and if they do that for too long, they eventually, most times, have a moment where they start to come out of that and they wake up and they get more aware of their life. And then the longer that they've spent in autopilot mode, all of a sudden that heaviness of unfulfillment, lack of purpose, just that feeling of discourse comes up, that unsettled feeling. And that's because their self-awareness is rising up and they're realizing, I've just been doing this because, either I've heard, I just felt like I had to, it's what everyone was doing. I thought that's just what you did in life. I never really asked myself those questions. I never really paid attention to what I really wanted. I mean, there's a laundry list of responses, but my point is that eventually when you come out of autopilot mode, your option then is to live with intention and to build your life with intention. And it's honestly it's a really exciting way to go about life, is to live your life with intention. Not everything in autopilot mode, a lot of decisions are just made for you. You just kind of assume a lot of things. You assume how your life's going to be and look at a certain, different segments of your life. But when you're intentionally living, your life is very unique to you. And you get to decide, what do I want to create here? How do I want my life to feel? How do I want to experience this? So the cool thing with living with intention is you get to take responsibility. And this is huge, that you get to accept that you have the power to change any aspect of your life that you want to. Totally can change it. And to realize that there's no right or wrong decisions or right or wrong answers. You just have to be intentional. Living is you being honest with you and you doing what feels right and really tuning in to that authentic self. Really, and not getting out of that whole comparison game of what your friends or your family or, God forbid, strangers, on social media are doing. You got to quit judging yourself. It doesn't matter what their choices are and what they're choosing to do. That feels right for them. Or maybe they're living in autopilot mode. So what's worse is you're going to follow somebody's pattern that's in autopilot mode. They don't even know why they're doing what they're doing. So it's so important for you to completely tune in to what feels right and authentic to you, so that you can build a life that you love and that feels good. That when you lay your head on your pillow at night, you feel fulfilled, you feel that sense of purpose. And the only way you can get that is to get honest with yourself. And then to move through your life with intention. And it's every day. It's what we do. It's the decisions that we make. It's even the really small decisions we make. Yeah, we've got the big ones. And we've got big decisions that really can change the trajectory of our life. But a lot of times, it's the small decisions. Like, for instance, health and wellness. Let's talk about that. So if I'm wanting to, focus on, make some improvements in my health, but I continue to eat out at heavy foods at restaurants and all that every day. And that's the majority of my diet. And I'm not really paying attention to what's going in my body. I'm not going to feel my best. I'm speaking for myself, because I'm just not going to feel my best. I'm going to feel lethargic. I'm going to feel, just after a while. Or I could make a choice which I used to do a lot when I did office at home, and I was constantly, out throughout the day or at the office at another location. I would make my lunch, and I took my lunch. Two bonuses to that. I was saving money, and I was eating food that felt good, and it wasn't, just filled with a lot of stuff that made me not feel so good. After I ate lunch, I was just like, oh my gosh, that feeling after you go out and eat, and just certain things just make you feel heavy, and all the things, tired. So I would make a choice of preparing what I was going to eat for lunch before I left the house, and I set myself up for success. And then I ate that for lunch, and then I had really good energy in the afternoon, and I stayed on track with some of my nutrition goals. So that's a very small decision. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm talking about really small decisions that make an impact in how we move through our life. So the cool thing is that you're in the driver's seat of that. And there really is when it comes to intentional living, there is no finish line. Like, we are in constant evolvement. We're in constant communication with ourselves, with that inner voice. And the other cool thing is you get to make adjustments along the way, every day, every week. You can reevaluate, you can course correct. And so intentional living is the heart and soul of how we create a life we love. And again, I believe and have found there are 5 foundations that tie into intentional living. And the sooner that you can wake up to this concept of intentional living, and how that is going to, whether you move in that direction or not, how that determines if you're going to be able to create a life that you truly love. And you might really love your life right now, and I hope you do. But ask yourself, am I on a path I'm going to love this in a year, 2 years, or 5 years, or longer? And if you have that, I don't know, feeling, that's your sign that you need to pause and become more self-aware. And that will give you your answers. So in closing, I think the one thing, if you take anything away from this episode, hear me when I say that going through life in autopilot mode is not living life fully. It really isn't. Going through life in autopilot mode is playing it safe. Going along in autopilot mode is just following the status quo. And it really doesn't give you the opportunity to put the individual mark on your own life. So intentional living is very much an expression of you. Intentional living is you doing your very best to make the choices that lead you in the direction to create the life that you truly love and that you truly want to experience. So I hope you've enjoyed this little talk today on intentional living. I believe intentional living is what flourishing and thriving in our life is all about. And to be bold and to be fabulous and to be fierce, to be all those things, it takes intentional living. Well, thank you for tuning in. I know you got value out of this today, and I hope you walk away with some really good food for thought when it comes to what kind of life do you want to create? And how are you taking the steps to create the life that you truly love? So until next time, my friends, I will see you next week. Go make this week fabulous. Be bold, be fabulous, and be fierce. And I will see you next week. Take care.